The next wreath will be led by Sinn Féin Councillor Gerard O'Neill. And the next by the Roddy McCorley Society. And if anybody else has any wreaths want to lay. We now call for a minute's silence, followed by a lament, which will be played by Kieran Doherty. Thanks very much, Kieran. I would now like to call the main speaker, who needs no introduction, Sinn Féin President Gerry Adams.
Rich man maker from Alaska. Gwyrmog Adomri, agus ar dús caiithí mé ará go bhfuil mé han sásta sceafta mór mar seo acáil agus bhhailm ba bhuíthas a thuirste ahan duine a chur an acáid seo le héile agus na rudí eile a bheidh méid ag gceanú ar fáil nó ar Jarrow and Castleton. I want to begin just by welcoming everyone here to this very special occasion, and I want to say a very special word of thanks to and of congratulations to everyone who's responsible for this event and for other events that will take place over tomorrow and Saturday. And many of the people here work every single day for the ideals that Joe McDonnell died for. But this just gives us that little unique opportunity to come together as a group, as a Republican community, and remember his sacrifice, and particularly the sacrifice of his family. So I want to extend a very special welcome here. Agus the Deja Liv, Bula Busmore, a Horch, Bahunya Clan, Joe McDonnell Paisty, agus Diniela. This is the 29th anniversary of the hunger strikes, and those of us who lived through those times, I'm sure, will all accept that it's very difficult to believe that so many years have passed and that next year will be the 30th anniversary. And it's actually very, very difficult. I know some people have tried, and some more gifted than me have been able to articulate this, but it's very, very difficult to comprehend the brutality of the conditions in the H blocks and the conditions in Armagh Women's Prison, which led to hundreds of prisoners enduring horrific events in their lives, and how 10 men went on to die on hunger strike. And you have to contextualise this, and this has been said by people like me and others, the Armagh women and the Fear Plewed, the blanket men, by going back to that time when the British government took a decision, a very calculated, tactical decision, to try and break the Republican struggle, and when they decided that the prisons would be the breaker's yard for the destruction of our demands for a free and united Ireland. And part of them doing that was to label us as a community as criminals, and therefore the people who were imprisoned as criminals. And what they didn't calculate for was that the women in Armagh and the blanket men refused to be criminalised. That's what they didn't calculate for. So if you can picture meetings which took place in high places in London and wherever else these creatures meet, at a time when the British state was led by Thatcher, the one thing they didn't take into account was just the refusal of Irish men and Irish women to accept that they were anything less than Republican prisoners, political prisoners. So we here commemorate and remember and celebrate the legacy of Joe McDonnell. And who remembers Maggie Thatcher, except with disdain and contempt? And it was Maggie Thatcher at a huge cost to the Republican community and to Republican families. She was wrong, and it was she who was defeated, and it was she who was criminalised. And it wasn't because of any plan or any sort of great visionary, strategic thinking or programmes or any of the rest of it at our end. It was just by determination of a relatively small group of prisoners. And then those tens and thousands of other people throughout this island and throughout the world who rallied to their cause. And each of the people, and Joe was one of them, was a very unique, very exceptional, but very ordinary human being. He was the fifth man to join the hunger strike. He was 30 years old, slightly older than most of the other hunger strikers. He was married. He had two children, Josephine and Bernadette. They were 9 and 10 years old when their daddy died. He was actually buried on Bernadette's birthday. He was from a Republican family in the Falls, but he grew up here in Andersonstown and came to live in Landown avenue where he was well known and very popular. And if you talk to anybody who knew Joe, they will talk about his sense of humour, his sense of crack, his ability to play practical jokes, his sense of irony and of making light of the most serious situation. He was a very close friend of Bobby Sands. He was actually captured with Bobby. From the day he was sentenced, Joe refused to put on the prison uniform to take a visit. He was adamant on that issue, and he kept in touch with Gerry and with his family by smuggled comms written with barrel refills on toilet paper, prison issue toilet paper or skins, and smuggled out. He became a scarcher, sin cundana the Dini a big scarch and scale o blocana de go blocanala. The person who shouted the scale of the news from block to block. And that was the way that the blanket men communicated with each other, and also passed scale from outside, from Teepanwee inside. And when Bobby died on May the 5th, after 66 days on hunger strike, Joe volunteered to take Bobby's place and to continue the hunger strike. And 61 days later, on this date, July the 8th, Joe died. I remember precisely where I was when I got word of his death. Ian John Dempsey was also shot dead shortly afterwards down at the bus terminus. Nora McCabe was killed with a plastic bullet down at Linden Street. The Brits attacked Joe's funeral. Some of you, the older people, were there at the time. My brother Paddy was wounded in that event. And the funeral was attacked with I remember myself and Martin McGuinness, it was like a flock of plastic and rubber bullets coming at the crowd as we made our way against the crowd towards where we thought people needed help, and it was just like flocks of birds coming at head height at us from the RUC jeeps. Now, much has been written and talked and debated about the hunger strikers and the impact of their deaths over that very, very long summer. I think it's fair to say that these were watersheds, that the deaths of our 10 comrades were watersheds, not just in our lives and not just in their families' lives, but watersheds in modern Irish history. It changed the course of that history. And it wasn't planned, as I said before, but if Thatcher's regime had had its way, the Republican struggle would have been finished and designated to the dustbin and dismissed as a criminal conspiracy, which is what their objective was. But the whole course of that history was changed, again, coming back to this, by individuals making a difference. And for those of us who want to describe what it is to be a Republican or who our role models are, they're our role models. The men in the blocks, the hunger strikers, the women in Armagh. And they are all that is noble, unselfish, decent, people who demonstrated tremendous valour and audacity in the face of great hardship and placed themselves on the line. So it isn't enough for us, even though it's very gratifying that so many people have come out here in West Belfast, and there will be demonstrations of love and celebration of Joe throughout this island and in other parts of the world. It isn't enough, because we just don't want to honour their memory. That's very, very important, and that's the right thing to do. But the reality is that the British government never had any right in our country, doesn't have any right in our country, and our responsibility is to end British jurisdiction on this island and unite the people of this island. And the courage and the selflessness and the vision of the political prisoners, of the hunger strikers particularly, have showed us how that can be accomplished. Not without sacrifice, but accomplished it can be. We need to get bigger. We need to get stronger, we need to keep building, we need to make friends, we need to make alliances. I believe that we can do it. I believe we have the right strategy, the right policies. We have the same determination that marked the Republican struggle 40 years ago. We have the same committed activist base that wants to move forward. And of course, there are very powerful forces, as there were then, who want to stop us, who want to turn the clock back, who want the old days. And our task is to stop them. I'm talking here of the people in the British establishment, in the Unionist establishment, and in parts of the Irish establishment. I was in the Short Strand about 2 weeks ago. It was the 40th anniversary of the Battle of St Matthews, and Donny Devenney, who some of you may know, who's one of our infamous mural painters and who was also in the cages with Bobby Sands, he painted a new mural. And the slogan it says, and it says it in very bold words, understand the past and build a better future. And that's where our focus has to be. Understanding the past, but building the future. And that's what motivated Joe, it's what motivated Big Doc, it's what motivated all the other hunger strikers and their comrades. And there's a role for every single person in building that future. Bobby Sands, and I often feel a bit awkward when I quote Bobby at a commemoration for Joe, but Joe wouldn't have minded. Because what Bobby did, he wrote the stuff down, and most of the other lads didn't do that. So there's actually words out that you can read that this man wrote in a H-block cell. Never give up. No matter how bad or black or painful or heartbreaking, never give up, never despair, never lose hope. He also wrote, there's an inner thing in everyone. Do you know this thing, my friend? It has withstood the blows of 1,000,000 years and will do so to the end. It is found in every light of hope. It knows no bounds nor space. It has risen in red and black and white. It is there in every race. It lies in the hearts of heroes dead. It screams in tyrants' eyes. It has reached the peak of mountains high. It comes searing across the skies. It lights the dark of this prison cell. It thunders forth its might. It is the undauntable thought, my friends, that thought that says, I'm right. Joe McDonnell was right. I want to thank Grady, I want to thank Bernadette, Joseph, all Joe's wider family for all that they have put up with from us over all of the years. And let's look forward to a better future. Gora Mila 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 Margaret.
Again, I'd just like to thank everybody who came along. There's a few notices I have to read out here, and then we're going to end with the national anthem. And again, I'd like to thank Kieran Doherty for the beautiful Lamont. At the minute, there's a photographic exhibition on in the Roddies. Tomorrow night at 7:15, there's soccer tournament matches. The football will take place in Grosvenor Road pitches. Saturday, the 10th, 12 p.m, Poke Fara at Neve Trassa, Joe McDonnell, Kieran Doherty Park. At 3 p.m, the British Army attack on Joe McDonnell's funeral, talk and question and answers by Bobby Story at Sarsfields. 3 p.m. and 4:30 p.m, soccer tournament matches. 8:30 p.m, a function and live music at the Roddies. Again, thanks very much for coming.
Just over there. Gerry, thanks. You'll see her again.
Come from America.
Had you a party here? Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful things.
Thank you.